Good morning, Paul. It's Friday, the 13th of January. Here's the heads up brief for today. For the Southeast Asia production, we covered 18 issues. In North Asia, we covered 3 issues. And for Australasia and the Pacific Islands, we covered 5. In South Asia, we covered 17 issues, plus the major issues in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region.
Okay, excellent. Friday the 13th. I'll drive carefully. Thank you.
Right. So the major issues for you to be aware of, Paul, before seeing the productions are in Jakarta, thousands of village heads will protest on the 17th of January in Indonesia. They're demanding extensions to their tenure and for the government to give them control over funds again, since the pandemic is over.
Okay, interesting.
Indonesia and Timor-Leste have discussed setting up free trade zones. It's still in early stages, but one zone is planned to be in East Nusa Tenggara.
Okay, excellent. Thanks.
Uh, Paul, there was a small student protest yesterday in Jakarta, not too disruptive or anything, but the topic was interesting. It's in conjunction with the Ferdi Sambo police case, and the student protesters were
Yes.
calling for Sambo and his associates to get the death penalty.
Okay, excellent. It's kind of funny that, isn't it? Because it won't happen. But of course, they've also got hang on a sec. They've also got think about, you know, killing people for drugs, death penalty for drugs. But when their own policeman commits murder, the guy that should be setting an example is the head of police does something heinous like that, and he's heavily involved in drugs, much more so than the mules that get caught in Bali. I mean, he's the mastermind, a massive mastermind of it. Um, so, using the same logic, if you're going to kill a mule, then perhaps a mastermind that's also the head of police. But you watch how that plays out. It won't play out. Logic will not be a piece of the process. So, thanks for that. That's really interesting.
Right, Paul. In Myanmar, a military-backed militia has blocked roads around a village in Kachin State. This is after the Kachin Independence Army issued an ultimatum to gold miners in the area to leave. Clashes have been escalating in the area, Paul.
My money's on the catching.
Right. Regarding Myanmar too, the Human Rights Watch yesterday released a statement urging ASEAN to coordinate efforts and block the main sources of income of the Myanmar military.
Okay, thanks.
In Thailand, ExxonMobil will sell its stake in Esso Thailand to a state-run corporation. This includes a refinery, distribution terminals, and retail stations, but Exxon will continue to deliver products to the Thai market through a new company.
Okay, that's really interesting. I mean, both of those stories are interesting, specifically if we look deeper in relation to the movements to cut off the mainstreams, because the mainstream of revenue is, of course, the PTTEP doing the downstream in Myanmar and then bringing the upstream, some into Myanmar, but some into the Asian grid. Um, they're talking about energy security to justify why they're still involved. Despite sanctions, Chevron's still a major stakeholder in the Adana project. The wonderful thing that protects all of these entities, of course, is the ignorance of the world. I mean, yes, we're pulling out. Hey guys, you run that. We'll be the biggest stakeholder forever and a day. The contradictions are allowed and the hypocrisy is allowed because they only police who they want to police and when they want to police, and they only interfere in who they want to interfere with, but they don't go interfering with the big Western oil and gas companies. Doesn't matter whether they're from America, England, or France. They seem to have immunity from everything. Okay, thank you.
Right, Paul. Paul, just touching on a couple of things in Papua New Guinea. The Papua New Guinea government passed a new investment promotion law on the 11th of January to help local businesses struggling to compete against foreign businesses. The law hasn't been made fully public yet. And Australia and Papua New Guinea are to sign a bilateral security treaty. I'll give details on what this entails when it's out.
And also on the taxation as well, whatever is proposed. I'd like to see the details of that again.
Yes, the law hasn't been made public yet, but we'll give you details on that, Paul.
Yeah, even when they start the drafts, because there's a couple of people in PNG will need to run that by as well. Andrew Compton and a couple of others. Okay.
Yeah, sure, Paul. Will do. In South Asia,
Thank you. Excellent.
yeah. In South Asia, Paul, in Pakistan, the Punjab Assembly was dissolved. Imran Khan's party will dissolve the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Assembly too in the next day or so. So let's see if the government calls for elections at this point, for general elections across the country, but there will be assembly elections in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. These two provinces alone account for about 65% of the country's constituencies.
Okay, that's interesting. So your feel is it's likely that there's going to be an election called fairly imminently in the next month or so, would you say?
Yes, I think that's the feeling because there are general elections scheduled already for this year, and it doesn't make sense to hold two massive state elections separately from the general elections later this year. But we'll see whether the government can resist Imran Khan at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you.
In Bangladesh, Paul, security forces arrested 5 terrorists in the Bandarban district.
That's another five, right? There was another
Yes,
arrest there a few days ago. Yeah, okay.
yes.
Wow. Okay, thanks.
Uh, Regarding terrorists also, Indian security forces arrested 2 suspected terrorists in Delhi and in Uttarakhand yesterday. They haven't released much details on them. One belongs to a militant group. The other is linked to a criminal group.
Okay, interesting to see that much detail come out that quickly. Hopefully, there should be more information coming out on that where we don't have to go digging.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Uh,
it'll keep flowing that info. Thanks.
yeah. Nepal will elect a speaker for the House of Representatives on the 19th of January. That's expected to go pretty smoothly considering the recent confidence vote, Paul.
Yeah, I'd like to just get a detailed profile of the new leader. I kind of know his generic background, being an important former fighter and leader with the Marxists, but I'd like to see the profile beyond that because he certainly, quite surprisingly, has been able to consolidate a lot of support and perhaps get into a position where Nepal can move forward a little bit and have some unity in its decision making under his leadership. So let's do a little profile on him next week for our client base.
Yeah, sure, Paul. We'll do that. Lastly, Paul, in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa regions, in France, oil industry unions are announcing strikes in the coming weeks against a new pension reform bill. Workers at production and distribution sites and administrative staff will join the strikes.
Okay, all right, that's going to be the beginning of some troublesome impacts throughout Europe in the coming 12 months. Excellent brief. If there's nothing else, thank you very much.
Just one last thing, Paul. In a similar vein, in Italy, gas station owners and operators are also going on strike. So what you say about Europe is still relevant.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That's a brief for today, Paul. Anything else from you?
No, just give me a hoy on WhatsApp if you need to chat again. I'm currently powering back from Ratchaburi to home at Huahin, okay?
Okay, sure, Paul. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye-bye.